Today, I am here with YaaYaa Natural, a small business run by a couple, Nicole and Alex, whose products feature moisturizers. However, only today we will be talking to Nicole. And so, would you like to introduce yourself to our podcast listeners?
Yeah, sure. My name's Nicole Untitled. I am CEO and co-founder of YaaYaa Natural. I have the company with my husband, and we started about a year ago, just because we had a need for natural luxury moisturizers in our life. So I used to just create it on my own, and he would use it on his beard or something, and we would kind of pass it to our friends and family. But then we're like, we should start this. We should make this a little bit bigger. We should set a great mission behind it, and we should keep it going. So that's what we did.
That's awesome. Very humble beginnings. And I'm glad that something good was able to arise for both of you last year.
Yeah, we had a lot of time. So I had plenty of time to sit down and plan it out. Yes.
Was it hard to get started on your small business?
It was. So COVID made things a little bit harder, but just in general, since neither one of us ever had a business before, we had a lot of research to do. But since we were working from home from our normal 9 to 5 careers, we had the time. So it was difficult, just going through a lot of legal stuff. And we were in Brooklyn, New York at the time. So I do a lot of research required within the small business areas, within New York State areas, just getting all the licenses and IRS and stuff like that and taxes. It's difficult.
It must be a lot of work. Unfortunately, you have a lot of time to sort through everything.
Would
you say that running your small business is harder now since things are quote unquote getting back to normal?
I would say it's a lot easier now. Definitely. Once you kind of go through the steps when you're starting, the legal steps and certifications and getting your articles of organization together, everything kind of falls into place after that. So then you can actually focus on your product, your shipping, your marketing and stuff like that. So it's definitely easier now than it was last year. But now there's just more obstacles and bigger things, and you're trying to expand and grow and, and partnerships with organizations and charities and stuff like that. So it's easier, but it's just like a different level that you kind of fall into.
There's always more ahead. And you said that you're looking into expansion. What kind of expansions are you guys wanting to head into?
So at the moment, we're expanding into storefronts. So we are in 2 storefront, like other small businesses like mom and pop shops. We love that. But excuse me, there's one in Queens, New York, and there's one in Omaha, Nebraska. And every day we're working on other ones. So now that we're in Jersey City, we're trying to expand out to Jersey storefronts and just see where that goes. We would love to take it further to larger industries once we get to that level of production, but we're not quite there yet. But that is a goal for sure.
I hope that you guys will have all of the successes in the world with your ideas.
Thank you. Thank you.
How people are right now being like super self-conscious about sustainability and like having their products be natural and responsibly sourced, I think that you guys will definitely do well.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And you also spoke about a few moments ago about working with various organizations and having partnerships. As our podcast listeners may or may not know, YaaYaa Natural is actually a partner with Untitled Chapter. If you go onto the shop website for Untitled Chapter or even YaaYaa Natural's website, you can see more information. I'm curious about how you got started with a partnership with Untitled Chapter. How did you hear about us?
Oh, so that's a great question. So I've known about Until since I was in middle school. I'm 32 years old. Wow. Just put that out there. They were selling their brace because they have partners with other, organizations and storefronts. So I found their bracelet, like the classic silver cuff. I found it at the Body Shop when I was in middle school, and I bought one. I lost it because I was in middle school and I had to look it up to find it again. I'm like, who's this company? It was so awesome. I loved the bracelet. And then I started learning about the cause. So within my family, we have within my distant family and then some of my very close friends, I have personal relationships with HIV positive patients. So that has always been something talked about in my family. And then when I realized that that's what this company stood for and that's what they're fighting for and fighting to stop the stigma, I dove in a little bit further. I bought another bracelet. I lost that one. I bought another bracelet. I lost that one. And throughout the process, I just kept researching more and more into the company and loving them even more. So at one point, my sister was also involved with them. My mom, I had told them about it. It was actually my mother's brother who died of AIDS back in the 80s. So our family's always been involved with that type of community. So I absolutely just loved it. So to speed things up, last year, let me see, maybe March or April, right after lockdown, we decided to donate 10% of our profits for the company to specific charities. And I knew one of them I wanted to go toward HIV. You were right, HIV patients. I knew one of the charities should be that. I chose another charity that helps Africans, quote unquote, grow themselves out of poverty. So like African farmers. I chose another one that was about homeless in New York. So it's literally free food for the homeless. And then I chose some that was Brooklyn bail funds back during the murder of George Floyd, right? So we had a lot of different charities. I honed in on those. I made a post on Instagram about, hey, every 3 months, we're going to be providing, 10% of our profits to such and such charities. And I made a list. And Melissa from Until actually reached out to me. It was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Who are you guys? We want to talk to you. We want to speak to you. And it kind of went from there. It was literally an Instagram post. And they reached out to me. And then ever since then, we've been speaking on a regular basis.
It's definitely a fated partnership, I think.
Yes.
And I'm really happy that you went from just a middle schooler, seeing this bracelet and being so impacted by it to where you are now, like working with Until They're Secure. It's like a fairy tale.
It really is. When they reached out to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite charity. I can't believe they're gonna try and talk to me. Like I was freaking out for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So since you started contributing and working with other organizations and nonprofits such as Until They're Secure, have you done anything outside of your small business work to empower and raise awareness to all of these causes and resources, specifically within the HIV domain?
It's mostly been work with Until They're Secure. Let me see. Let me remember. Let me try and remember. Everything else focuses. So we try and focus more on the African communities because that's our culture. And we absolutely love the idea of giving back to what provides us with our main resource, what provided us with life, in general. So other than HIV resources, we do clothing drives for Burkina Faso. We met a few people that go back and forth to that country because their village was in a very bad situation and the children in the village needed clothing. So we create small clothing drives through our apartment and set up things with some friends who go back and forth every year. But most of the charitable contributions for the HIV community has been, well, for me personally, since I have a few friends that are HIV positive, I work with them on the side, but through, I guess, legal, quote unquote, legal avenues, it's mostly through our partnership with Until.org.
I see. So with your experiences with HIV within your friends and family, what words of advice or support would you give to someone who recently found out that their beloved one is diagnosed with HIV and they're not sure how to support that person?
It's not over would definitely be the first thing I would say. Your life is going to continue. It's 100% possible to live with HIV. I've seen it. A lot of people have seen it, and the friends of mine who are currently living with it, they're doing perfectly fine. One of my friends just got a kidney transplant, so we were amazed by that because the medication actually does destroy your kidneys. A lot of people don't know that, but he had a very successful transplant. It's perfectly possible. Your life's not over. And it is a bad situation, but a lot of positive outcomes can come out of bad situations. And also people make mistakes. Like, it's a separate conversation, but especially when it comes to the world of sex, a lot of people make mistakes. So chalk it up to a mistake and your life's not over. You can still live a completely fulfilled life, completely healthy life with HIV.
For sure. I think that is a great word of comfort and support for everyone out there, including our podcast listeners who may have found out that they're recently diagnosed with HIV or know someone diagnosed with HIV. And speaking of which, so there are many HIV days coming up, like World AIDS Day around the end of this year, where communities around the world are raising awareness for HIV and AIDS. What do you think we should raise awareness on this year specifically? Like, is there something that you think that not a lot of people know about, but they should know about more?
Let's see. So recently, I think it was June, what just passed was HIV awareness for Asian and Pacific Islander communities. And I'm not sure I think the next one that's coming up might be for religious and church communities, which I think is very important because there's a very strong stigma within that community for people positive with HIV. I think that needs more attention. I also think the quote unquote cocktails, and I think the drugs, preventative drugs and the drugs to treat, I think that needs more attention as well. In New York, we see a few posters and a few bits of advertisements for like HIV medication and stuff like that, but I don't think it's enough. I think that should be talked about a little bit more because that's, to me, in my personal opinion, that's what helps people in their mindset when they first discover that when they first contracted the virus. But that's what helps people realize that, yeah, you can live a perfectly fulfilled life with a virus of any kind, actually. So I think that needs a little bit more attention. I think that should be given more attention in the next World AIDS Day. And I know we have another day coming up. I have a full calendar of every like HIV
Southern
awareness
AIDS
day.
Is on
That's it. Okay, for the Southern communities. That's right. Thank you. But that's also important as well. Definitely Southern communities of color, communities that are deep within religious, like churches and synagogues, mosques, what have you. There's a large stigma within those communities that needs to be talked about. So I think we should focus on that and the medication.
I wanted to go back to something you briefly mentioned about how there are like posters around your community, and you think that there should be more. You think that there should be more done to raise awareness. How would you go about? Say that you were like a campaign manager and you had all the resources available to you to talk to community. How would you set up an event to, discuss HIV and everything?
I would start with marketing. I think there should be more commercials, although people really don't watch commercials right now. There should be more commercials that you're kind of forced to watch. I would start with marketing, and then I would move over to events. So I would get some major players, so you said before, if I have all of the budget, if I'm completely, if the funding was there, I would get some A-listers, a lot of big names that would bring in people, make it a concert, make it something fun. And then, and then underlining message would be to educate on HIV, would be to educate on AIDS, educate on medication, and what we're trying to focus on a little bit more. That's what I would do. Because that's what kind of sticks out to me when I go to concerts or live events. Not even like, maybe not music, maybe it's dancing or some sort of live performance that usually draws people in and brings in a lot of people. After you've done, let's say, 6 months of proper marketing for this event, I think it would help a lot. That's what I would do to raise awareness, but I would still increase the amount of paper marketing. So on your subway benches, on your buses, on your highway, your freeway signs, I would increase that as well.
just constantly have people see these things and inculcate it into their minds so that when the event comes around, they'll be like, oh, hey, I know about this. Maybe I should go.
Exactly. Like think how many commercials Old Navy has, and they're always dancing. You remember all of those
Yeah,
commercials. We could do the same thing.
for sure. And you mentioned concerts and live performances. That made me
Mhm.
think of when people like live stream themselves on social media. Do you think that could be an
Yes,
effective way the youth could help contribute to raising awareness about HIV struggles in like communities of faith in the South, etc.?
definitely. 100%. Now that TikTok is a huge thing and Instagram Reels are a huge thing, there's actually a huge
Mhm.
HIV positive community within TikTok that I tapped into. It's
That's
yeah,
awesome.
live stream, Twitch. I'm not sure if you heard of that, but that's where a lot of gamers and DJs like go to, and people
Yeah.
live stream concerts and conversations. All of that stuff can be used, especially now in 2021, where everything's kind
Oh,
of moving
yeah.
toward right online.
Hmm. I think that COVID and just being at home because of like mandates and orders really primed people to pay attention to platforms like Twitch a lot more, which is a good thing because then you could use this like increased attention to direct
Right.
traffic to good causes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And what do you think the okay, question, do you think that the next generation, such as my generation, a university student or even younger, that we
Mhm.
have the ability to raise more awareness towards HIV and educate people to the point where there's a declining stigmatization of people with HIV? Do you think it's possible, or do you think it's always going to be an ongoing fight?
I think it's possible. It's 100% possible. You guys come out of the birth canal with phones in your hand. Like you
Mhm.
guys know way more about technology than the rest of us. So you have a lot more resources than I had, or my parents had growing up. There's a lot more. There's a lot of new resources that have come out. Within
Yeah.
this new generation. I do think it's always going to be a fight, but I think you guys are very, very well equipped to make that happen.
Mhm. I think so too. And I feel like increasingly with every generation, the youth are just becoming more open-minded
Right.
about
Yeah.
issues
Right.
and all
A
of
lot of
that.
things are
So
being
I
more
definitely have hope.
accepted. Yeah.
I, yeah, it's good how much like self-love and comfort people these days give each other. And speaking of comfort, would you ever consider making like a comfort moisturizer package kind of deal for your customers in the future?
Yeah. In comfort, what do you mean?
So I know there's like independent, like on Etsy, some people would sell like comfort packages where it's like candies, maybe like a lotion, face masks,
Uh,
things that like
yeah.
people use when like they're on a, not feeling so great. Would do you think you'd
Gotcha.
ever make
Okay.
something like that in the
Okay.
future?
Yeah, like a care package kind of.
Yeah, care package. That's the word for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That would actually be awesome. We'd have to add a few things because all we have is moisturizers right now. We could add a couple
Yeah.
things to that. That's a great idea.
And I know it would be really good. A great gift too. Now, based on everything you've experienced this summer, if you had to create a product directly inspired by those experiences, what would you make for your small business? It doesn't necessarily
Hmm.
have to be a moisturizer.
Hmm. Hmm. So based on my experiences this summer,
Yes.
ooh, the summer was extremely humid.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure where you're located, but we're in.
Texas.
Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's
So
hot by you
hot.
too. It would have to be some sort of cooling something, maybe some sort of fan or an apparatus, maybe a spray or
Ooh.
something. Because
Mhm.
because honestly, in the summer, the moisturizers get really heavy. So you can
Yeah.
either use a very small amount or you can not use anything at all. But a lot of people tend to go toward cooling sprays and mists and you know oils. But
Yeah.
I think I would like make I guess, as you said before, I would make a care package that has like a fan, some cooling apparatus in it,
Say
sort
for
of like
the cooling
spray, maybe
apparatus.
like a face mask, you know, like, mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
You're right, like
For
something you
this,
can put in the freezer, you know, and kind of
yes,
do some
cool
self-care
off.
with that. Yeah.
That'd be great. What scent would you make the spray, for example?
My favorite scents, I like citrus stuff. So anything in the citrus
Yes.
family. Yeah. Right now, one of my favorites is bergamot. Um, Other than that, orange, lime, lemon. After that, I have to go with something in the mango category. I love that. I feel
Mhm.
like that's a great summer light scent. I think mint could also
For
work
sure.
because mint is really
Yeah.
refreshing. Yeah. Like when you
Mhm.
think of your drinks and you put a little mint leaf in there, it's super, super refreshing. So it'd probably be in that area of like citrus, mint, something, something.
Definitely. I feel like those scents are associated with like cooling down. So not only does it like
Exactly.
literally cool down, like there's also this psychological, oh yeah, I'm feeling much better now, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's when you're creating a product, you have to think about the psychological aspects because people buy based off their feelings. They don't buy based off how much
Mhm.
money they have. So you
Yeah,
like,
for
what do you
sure.
want them to feel, you know, when they hear your product, when they read about it, how do you want them to feel about it? You know, that you want them to feel like they're on the beach or they feel like they're poolside or they're just, you know, although it's really hot and sweaty and terrible out, you want them to feel like they're on an oasis with like cool, calm waters, you know, breeze, ocean
Mhm.
breeze, something. So like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
could
it's really
definitely
important.
tell. Sorry. I
No
could definitely
problem.
tell you were conscious about the feeling looking at the product photography and all the surrounding props you can use to really create the vibe of what you want to convey and just lure people in a little bit more based on like nostalgia or just whatever they're desiring at the moment.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It's kind of you have to sell it, and it's different
Mhm.
when you have a physical product. When someone goes to your website, you have to be able to convey that you're trustworthy, that they can get your product from you and not anyone else. That you're different, um, and all in 30 seconds, because we
Yep,
lose interest. You know, so if all of that doesn't come across within 30 seconds, you got to change it up. So there's a lot of things that
exactly.
goes into it. And I'm definitely not a web designer, but it's difficult in aspects. There's a lot of things
Mhm.
that go into it. But yeah,
I think you're I think with all the work that you and Alex and the behind the scenes staff are doing for the website and just products, like you guys are doing really great. There's like an established color palette. You when you
thank
enter the website, you
you.
feel really comforted. It just feels good to look at
Oh,
and
thank
even
you.
better to like experience yourself, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you. We went back and forth for a long time on that color palette.
Good decisions were made. I feel like it's also pretty unique too. Like you don't really see that like kind of faded mint color too often.
Yeah, yes, yes. And both of us kind of love like a turquoise. So we were kind of playing around with that green, you know. So we're
Mhm.
like, oh, add some mints. And there are a lot of great resources out there where you can just kind of put in a color and have other colors generated around it, like complementary colors, and kind of just see
Yes.
what you
Mhm.
know, see what you want and see what you want to pick. And we played around with that a lot and
Definitely. Work
came
smarter,
up with
not
something.
harder, and use
Yes.
technology to your advantage.
Right. Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm. An idea that just popped up in my head for HIV, do you think that you would, I don't know how partnerships work, but do you think that for World AIDS Day, you could do like a special thing where if someone orders from like Until's website of your product that you would include maybe like a tiny little card talking about like an HIV fact or even have like a red ribbon sticker included with the package
Oh,
to
yes,
maybe
definitely.
incentivize people to buy the product?
Yes, definitely, definitely. I absolutely love that idea. Previously, I thought about having some sort of sale specifically for Until. So someone would buy a bracelet from Until's website, right? And then they would show it on Instagram, you know, have a little picture, a selfie with it, and they would get a like special discount from us
Oh,
because they've
that's a
supported.
good
Like that's
idea.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. We haven't put that into play yet, but I remember speaking to Nora about that a few months ago Yeah, the executive director. And I'm like, this might be cool. But yeah, we're constantly working together to try and promote each other and promote, the cause. But I love that. I have plenty of red ribbons that I can send out with our products. And I'm always trying to direct people to, direct people to their website. I love that idea.
Well, there's a bunch of HIV days coming up, like World's AIDS Day. So hopefully that one of your ideas or several will come through fruition.
Yes.
By the end of the year. Also, I sent in the chat a link at a really good website for producing stickers. I used it myself. The stickers are really high quality. It's relatively cheap compared to other manufacturers. So if you're looking.
Oh, yes. Yes, we actually use them. Yeah.
Nice.
Use them for so we have tape. We have tape with our logo on it that goes on the outside of the box. So we like this. The company is great.
Oh, I agree. And the shipping's also pretty fast. The quality comes out wonderful. Can't recommend it enough. But we're coming to a wrapping point. Thank you so much for speaking with us today, Nicole, on behalf of YaaYaa Natural. Is there any specific product that you would like to highlight right now to our podcast listeners?
Well, thank you for having me so much. Thank you for inviting me. Let's see. Right now we are, we only have 5 moisturizers. We're starting small and trying to expand with one thing before we move on to bigger and better things. But right now, what seems to be very popular is our unscented Invisible Ivory and our Ghana Gold, which my husband created himself because he wanted like a tropical Seychelles, African island vibe. Yeah. So that tends to be a very big item. And you guys can use an awesome special code, VACA20, if you want 20% off. That's VACA20 if you guys want 20% off. And that's kind of it. We'll have more stuff coming out soon.
Thank you so much for the discount code.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for supporting.
Of course, it is such an honor to be working with you, YaaYaa Natural, and the causes that you stand for and support by, especially your mission about having sustainable responsibly sourced materials and like paying your workers fair wages and everything.
Oh yes, yeah. We it took a long time to find, our shea farm directly in Africa we got one. And they're paid fairly, and we're also a plastic-free company, so that's makes a little bit harder for us for like shipping specifically. Yeah. But we want to protect Mother Earth, and we want to make sure the land that provides us with our greatest resource is taken care of. So
definitely. And with all the natural disasters happening this year, it's more important than ever to be more friendly and sustainable.
Right.
But thank you so much once again for joining us on our podcast today. All of the links to YaaYaa Natural's website, social media, etc. will be linked below. And that will be our podcast for today. It will be released sometime in the future since the podcast is still being worked on and all of that. But thank you for talking to me today, Nicole. I had a really good time. Yes,
thank you so much, Lisa. This was awesome. And I'm going to put this discount code in our chat here so that you can relay that over.
I will definitely write this down. Well, that will be all for today.